The battle over deregistration of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and four other political parties took a dramatic turn within the week as the Court of Appeal in Abuja halted execution of the Federal High Court judgment ordering their removal from the register of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, the appellate court, in a unanimous ruling by a three-man panel led by Justice A.M. Mohammed, severely criticized the lower court for proceeding with its judgment despite an earlier order directing it to suspend action on the matter. Now, describing the conduct as a violation of judicial hierarchy, INEC supported the application for stay, saying it was not informed of delivery of the judgment and only learned of it through the media. The affected parties, including the ADC, the Action Alliance, Action People's Party, Accord Party, and the Zenith Labour Party, had been accused by the National Forum of Former Legislators of failing to meet electoral performance threshold set out in Section 22, subsection 205, subsection A of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as reaffirmed by the Electoral Act 2021 INEC's regulation. If you recall, the lower court ruling sparked outrage among opposition figures and civil society groups who warned against actions capable of shrinking Nigerian democratic space ahead of the 2027 general election. Now, while critics described the move as an attempt to weaken opposition parties, legal supporters of the judgment insisted it merely enforced constitutional provision requiring political parties to meet minimum electoral standard. But the question now is, what will be the next step of the opposition with the new ruling? And will this be seen as a respite for them? Yes, will the judgment be more seen as a win for them or more of a temporary relief? And honestly, how can we make our democratic process be seen as accommodative and mature? Well, these and more will take center stage on the show today as we talk about the deregistration of political parties or the re-deregistration of political parties and the political climate ahead of the 2027 general elections. Well, that will be what we'll be looking at. And to join us talk about this is no other but the political analyst joining us all the way from Port Harcourt in Rivers State. And we're talking about no other person but Mr. Emi Ferreira. Good day and welcome to the show.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Yeah, it seems to be raining cats and dog out here in Delta State. Is it raining there in Port Harcourt itself?
It's just cloudy, but it's not raining.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's rein in the issue that seems to be, and that is what transpired just the beginning of this week. And we're talking about more like turning the wheel of judgment, especially as it concerns the High Court and the Appeal Court now saying, go ahead and do your thing, the four political parties. Now, I want your quick reaction to this very judgment coming from the Appeal Court, saying that the lower court had no right in deregistering the four political parties beforehand, knowing that it went out of its way to do so. I want your reaction as it concerns it.
I think Nigeria is a constitutional state. Where the Constitution defines powers, it defines boundary, and also stipulate what is accepted and what is prohibited.
Yes.
And in our courts, I think there are hierarchies of court as well. And the court is meant, to actually interpret actions. When people, are angry, they run to the court to seek redress. And that is why some persons went to court to seek a redress with respect to the actions that were the outcome of the 2023 general elections, which the law says, particularly the Electoral Act and the ground law says that any political party that fails to win 30% of electoral seats, that political party stands, to be deregistered, and the power was, given to INEC to so do. When these people went to the court had them. But in the process of this proceeding, other matters were also before the court, particularly the Accord Party were also in the court. They were trying, to save themselves because they want to participate in the upcoming Osun State gubernatorial elections. In the course of all of this, I think what the trial court did was actually, anti-democratic, because when you follow the hierarchy of courts, and if you are notified that there is a matter and a kind of an order has been issued that status quo should be maintained and other things should remain the way they are until the final determination of the matter. On the day the High Trial Court was about giving judgment, they were notified that this is the current order, I think around May, but the court went ahead, ignoring every other appeal to them, and they just delivered a judgment, deregistered INEC to deregister certain political parties like the ADC, the Accord, and two other political parties. If you must try to uphold the law must be upheld holistically. It's not something you do based on your emotions. You must do it in line with the provisions of the Constitution. I think the court overreached its bound, and I'm so much happy that the appeal court has tried to correct that ugly experience. And the National Judicial Council should not just let matter like this lie, because we assume it was allowed to run. I believe people will always accuse the incumbent government at the center that they are behind all of this to weaken the opposition political party ahead of 2027 general elections. Whereas it's just a desperation over zealousness of certain judges that are actually, behind the whole scenario. So I think the correction from the appeal is normal and it's applaudable.
Elaborate understanding of all of it. But if you understand, it was the national former legislative arm, or they call themselves the National Forum of Former Legislators, that took these four political parties to court. Now, many are saying yes, it looks as if it has the voice of Jacob, but has the hands of Esau, and they are blaming the ruling All Progressive Congress of pushing that forum to do their bidding. And they feel that is all in accordance with either the Accord Party, which is that of the Osun State, and not only that, for the ADC, they seem to be a bit jittery about their performance in the general election. So let's try to understand, do you feel, in your own honest assessment, that the ruling party had a finger in all of this?
I think I will answer the question from the last statement you made. In 2019, we had a candidature for the presidential election, and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was one of them. His running mate was Peter Obi. The APC were on the ballot, and the APC defeated them, right? In 2023, we also had another presidential election, and in that election, Atiku was also on the ballot, and the APC also defeated him. So if you go by these two events that I just point out to, so why will the APC be jittery of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar that they have defeated twice? I think Nigerian politicians, we must learn how to submit to rule of law. If the law stipulates certain actions and define the processes, it is expected that you subject whatever aspiration you have to the rule of law, so that the law will not govern that action for the purpose of tranquility and harmony and no mercy in the political scene. But often at times, you've seen the Nigerian politicians, what they do is their interest is placed above even the law. Their interest is placed above every other interest. It must be them. And for this purpose, they don't respect even their own constitution. Every political party has constitution. But how many of them are respecting their own constitution? The ground norm, which is the 1990 Constitution, has amended, how many of them are actually respecting the ground norm? The Electoral Act is also there. So they just disregard everything. And when they think, bounce back at them, what they do, they find a way to criticize and blame some other person and not looking at their own actions. And this is why we are where we are today. And we have so many, sorry to say, so many political ignorant people around that when certain words are thrown, nobody sit back to actually analyze the actions and look at who is saying this is, and the action that preceded before the whole outcome that we got. But people don't look at this. We just run around with what has been said, particularly if the thing fall in line with our sentiment. So that is why somebody will want to disregard the rules that set up the platform that it is, and the person will come and blame another person. I think it's not actually, for me, actions like this should not be celebrated at all. Although in this matter, the ADC in 2023 general election actually won 3 seats. So I don't see the reason why the court will say INEC should register them. So that is, I think, blaming it on the incumbent political party, I think is out of place. Political parties and politicians should learn to take responsibility. The way you are vying for that position, there are other persons who also want to, to occupy that the same position. So there is this contradiction and there is this conflict of interest. People will want to be where you are, even as you are aspiring to be. So those persons must not be engineered by another person. And in politics generally, your enemy your enemy is my friend. Sometimes it happens, and the enemy of your interest will also, will be somebody I want to play the politics with. So your friend, sometimes if you are my opponent, becomes my enemy. So when you open up a kind of a room for people to take advantage, it is better you take responsibility and find a way to close the gap rather than blaming it on people as a politician.
Now, I'm really happy you stated that, and you feel the ruling party is not embedded in what seems to be happening with the deregistration of the four political parties. But let's still stick with the ADC because I'm also interested there. A lot seems to have happened from that very ruling of the High Court up till now as it concerns the ADC. They've done their presidential primaries, which Atiku Abubakar emerged as the presidential candidate. But what seems to be surprising is the vice presidential aspirant, who is no other person but the former governor of your state, and we're saying Rotimi Amechi, Chibike Rotimi Amechi. Now, I want your reaction as it concerns him going ahead and accepting the vice presidential slot of the ADC. Because the reason I'm asking you this, you're in Port Harcourt, and you do know he has a whole lot of fans and followers right there. But are you in every way comfortable with him accepting that, knowing that he also said on February 12th of this year that it's really wrong for the North to vie for the presidential ticket that is indeed the time of the South. So many are wondering, why did he jump ship?
I think politicians, the brand of politics we play here, I think dishonesty is now being, ascribed to being part of politics, where people will say one thing today and be doing another. And I don't like, mainstream words sometimes when issue like this arises. Former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, we've seen them at the national politics. But if you place them side by side, in terms of political prowess, in terms of spread and influence, I don't think Amechi can actually make Elijah Atiku Abubakar. In terms of structure across the 30 states and plus the FCT, Amechi cannot make Atiku Abubakar. So when he said that thing on live TV the other day, I was just laughing that he bought from not for vice president, but he bought from to become a president. And he was saying that Atiku should not run. Atiku should step aside for the southern people to complete their 8 years. He was right based on his own opinion. But the point now is stepping aside for who? For himself to become the flag bearer of the ADC. Remember, Atiku is a qualified Nigerian who always have interest, and the constitution allows him to so do. The northern dichotomy and the southern dichotomy kind of agree. It's a gentleman agreement. It's not written. So it is meant for us, to drive in that peace and harmonious living among the north and the south. But when issue like this comes around, it is politics that decides. So when you say that Atiku should step aside at that time, I was asking, is it by law or by that understanding? And you were trying to make it as something of right. It shouldn't have been right. It would have been something of negotiation, something of plea, convincing the other person to see what you were saying. I think that was the approach I expected of them. But what he did was claiming right and all that. And the man went ahead and he stood for the primaries election. And he defeated him today. The same man who said he didn't buy ticket to become a vice president have accepted the role of a running mate. So you see, that is why we must be careful with those things we say. People are putting out their record are being taken. So if people are beginning to use these things against them tomorrow, it will be as maybe the ruling party is trying, to demonize certain presidential candidate and the running mate for some certain reasons. The way we always paint issues around. So for me, Amechi got it wrong. Now that he has become a running mate, he should just stick to that and see the way they can, run their elections, and probably if Nigerians, accept them, Nigeria will vote for them, but Nigeria don't accept them. Nigeria will not vote for them. But I think we must understand that it is a gentleman agreement. After late Muhammadu Buhari, you still want to continue returning power to the North. I don't think it will be suitable politically, in the minds of the people of the Southern dichotomy. Later on, it might lead to some political frictions and agitations and all of that. So, for me, I want them to stick to that gentleman agreement, and that understanding should continue because it has actually helped to quell certain level of agitations and political tension within the Nigerian political space.
Okay, now I want you to also help us understand, because you're in Rivers State at the moment, at Port Harcourt. Let's understand Amaechi's political base there. Do you see the ADC posing a strong challenge to the APC come the general elections in 2027, where we do know the FCT minister is also more like a godfather in that very zone? But does the APC have a strong bearing in Rivers State at the moment?
You see, politics is not something you play on social media alone. As you run your mouth, you run whatever you're doing on social media, you expand your political base on social media. The restructure is what you do at the polling unit. And I think that currently with the configuration of politics in Rivers State, Rotimi Amaechi is a good man. Rotimi Amaechi is what I call the administrative man. But in terms of really politicking, I think so many things are lacking. Politics is not something you restrict within your area, most especially if you have held position at the national level. He was a minister for 8 years. In that ministerial appointment that he occupied, can we say that right around Rotimi Amaechi has a base in Delta State? Can we say Amaechi have a base in Bayelsa? Can we say Amaechi have a base in Edo? Can we say Amaechi have a base in Akwa Ibom, even in Cross River? In Rivers State here, how many elections has he contested that he won? As DG to lead Buhari campaign organization, what happened then? That he lost all the elections. The two-time election, he lost 2015 and 2019. He lost. If you lost as the DG of a campaign organization, and after then, there is no election that was conducted here in Rivers State that you're able to win. So I wonder how suddenly you will so weigh that political influence, and you want to defeat the APC, and particularly the people like Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike, who is always following up every elections, and he want to, to make a mark, putting his head, putting his money, putting his time, forming coalitions and all that. But Amaechi is not that kind of a politician. After election, he stays somewhere. Then when there is the election cycle, he comes, he makes statements, trying to incite people. And at the end of the day, you don't actually see the work of his party on ground. Amaechi is my man. I supported him in several elections that had been held in the state, but the truth must be told. Currently, with the structure of politics in Rivers State, I think Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike is ahead of him. He's really far ahead of him. The APC, how many of them have we actually seen on ground? Apart from currently that they have a governorship candidate. That is the only thing you hear, and they are trying to make it something like a tribal politics and all that. I don't think it would be very difficult, to be frank, for the ADC to defeat the APC and any other political party that has Chief Barrister Nyesom Wike based on the coalition that they have in Rivers State. Amaechi will struggle generally in the South because he has not followed any election, even outside the Rivers State. We had the election in Delta State. A wise politician who has futuristic view about his career would have also liked to invest in politics of Rivers State, invest in politics of Delta, invest in politics of Bayelsa, invest in politics of the South, because this is his base. But when the elections are held outside his state, and you don't actually see him, involving himself in terms of finance and in terms of support. Rather, he is the kind of the Iroko politician that you must come to him, and the mountain, you can't go to the mountain, then just remain that the mountain will not come to you, and you will not see the mountain. And politics are not played like that.
Okay, well, thank you for saying that and letting us know his strong base, especially as it concerns Rivers State and Port Harcourt, which you feel he will come second best to no other but the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. But let's leave the ADC and now talk about the NDC. Yes, the NDC seems to be showing or having a strong political push. Right here in Delta State, in the 2022 general elections, Peter Obi won as it concerns the presidential election under the Labour Party. That we know. Now he's in the NDC and he has a strong political backbone in the north, which is no other person but Rabiu Kwankwaso of the Kwankwasoria movement. Now, I want you to help us understand, because now we're looking at the general elections itself as much as we're looking at other opposition parties and their strong showing as it concerns the 2027 general election. Do you feel the NDC would definitely pull a mark as it concerns that very election, with the combination of Obi and Kwankwaso?
I think first there are things, a narrative that we need to correct. In 2023 general elections, I think there was sentiment that was sold to the southern people of Nigeria, where the issue of a Muslim ticket, that some people lied to the minds of people that it was an attempt to Islamize the country. And so many churches and people fell for it that, yeah, since we now have the Muslim ticket that is coming to Islamize us, according to the words of the politicians, then we'll look for a Christian candidate. They saw that Atiku Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is also a Muslim. His running mate then was Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa. So they believe that Okowa is a Christian and Okowa was running for the office of the president. Then the next person who then believed was Christian was Peter Obi. That is why majority of people here in the South and the Southeast and some part of the Southwest actually voted for Peter Obi massively based on religious background. So majority of the affluence the vote Peter Obi got then was a religious protest vote. That is for that. Then in the north, I think Kwankwaso with its Kwankwasia movement, they are doing well in Kano State. Remember, Ganduje was also his vice then, and Ganduje was part of the Kwankwasia movement. Yusuf, which is the current governor, also part of the Kwankwasia movement. But in all of this, truth must be told, the Kwankwasia movement is limited within the Kano State. So the political affluence or influence of Rabiu Kwankwaso limits within the Kano State political environment. We saw what he got when he stood for the presidential election. It was only Kano State that he won. He never won any state outside the Kano State. And he didn't even do well in the north. The election was between Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the north, getting all the votes. Why in the south side and in the southeast it was to be based on what I just talked about. Why in the southeast it was purely ethnic vote that he got, and most persons, compromised, and trying to support their own outside the brand of politics. Are you with me there? So, and politics, I want to tell people, is not static. Just like human is not static, politics is dynamic. The events that happened before 2020 general elections, I don't think they are the same now. Things have changed. Words have changed. Some of this sentiment that was sold to Nigerians, I don't think they will work now. So if you look at the ADC currently, assessing Peter Obi himself, I give it to him. He's a qualified Nigerian. He can win an election, former governor and all that. But if you check his stats, if you check his political, activities after the 2020 general elections, the man political affluence and popularity is declining. People are not aware of the false statistics and incorrect statistics he was pushing. Their idea of going to church and trying to sell those sentiments, I don't think it will work again. And if you check the part of the APC, they have reached out to places that were never on ground. They have gotten more governors. In Delta State there, for instance, where we had the incumbent governor in Ifeanyi Okowa, they're running for the vice presidential seat there. He was actually not for the APC, but currently all those structures have been collapsed into the APC. So I doubt if Peter Obi will win Delta State as it stands today. The election is conducted. And if you go to Bayelsa State, the structure there, Seraki Dixon, who is also trying, to break the agreement they had in Bayelsa State that the senatorial state was supposed to leave its own senatorial district to other parts of the people who are also in that the same senatorial district. But Seraki didn't want to retain that seat. Hence, he left the PDP to float his own political party. He believes that from there he will get the ticket and run against the Incumbent governor. And if you check the structure in Bayelsa State currently, I think the incumbent governor has actually eaten deep, because Bayelsa State had that agreement. Once it is the turn of these people, you relinquish the product. That was why Maurice Bruce didn't return. But Seraki Dixon is trying to destroy that agreement, which Bayelsa people are actually agitating that it must not be destroyed. It must stand, and he will be running against the incumbent governor. Then if you go to Edo State, there was an Obaseki who actually secretly funded the Obedient Movement and the Labour Party as against his own political party. As he stands today, is there still fund that will fund the NDC? Public fund that will fund the NDC that will allow Peter Obi to win in Edo State? I think there is nothing like that. Then if you leave that to Akwa Ibom now have understanding that the way they are running their politics, for somebody to even defeat the APC, then it will be very, very, very difficult. So for me, the dynamics then and now are never the same. In the southeast that Peter Obi hails from, the APC have found a way, to galvanize themselves into some people. You see the likes of Obi Kubana and the rest that actually funded the Labour Party and the candidacy of Peter Obi at 2023 general election. Most of them are now in the APC. And the APC has gotten more governors. And even the other the Anambra State that Peter Obi hails from, the governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo is actually at the political loggerhead with Peter Obi, and is vowing that he must make sure that he disgraces Peter Obi in his own state. So if you check, and he's talking about progressive, working together, meaning they are going to vote for the APC even in Anambra State. So I don't see how the NDC, a new political party that spread is actually limited to certain part of the country, will actually overthrow the APC on the ballot come 2027.
Well, anyways, it's more like you really highlighting the reasons why Peter Obi won the 2023 general elections, especially in the South. Presidential election, he had got more votes, especially in the South. We're talking about the Southeast and the South-South. But let's just stick with the NDC, because just day before yesterday, their national chairman, we're talking about no other person, introduced the oath of loyalty to candidates to limit their defections. And they also signed, I'm talking about the national secretary came out, we're talking about Ikenna Enekwize. He came out to say that henceforth, members, those vying or candidates will definitely sign a oath of loyalty. So when they win, they do not defect. Now, this is one new scheme being brought into the political space, especially as it concerns defection, knowing that some people will use your barrel wagon to move, but when they get there, they will jump down and enter into another keke. Now, let's look at this itself. Do you feel this is a good innovation to deal with the issue of defections? And in your own honest assessment, is this democratic in any way to make somebody sign an oath to stick to a political platform, whether he or she likes it at the end or not?
I think the NDC are trying to learn from the situation that happened within the Labour Party, where some people won election, with under the popularity of Peter Obi and the rest of it, and the end of the day, they jump ship to other political parties, leaving the Labour Party that gave them the platform.
Yes.
So the NDC is just trying, to tame that situation, that if you win an election under the platform of NDC, you must remain within the NDC. But in all of this, I think the NDC, I will appraise them for taking out something like this. But I want to tell them that whatever they have done, I don't think it will fly much. Because
but is it democratic for them to make these persons take an oath? Because we do know in our constitution, you have every freedom to associate with any group.
That is where I was going.
Okay.
Because if you see, whatever affidavit they signed, whatever agreement they entered, Section 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended talks about the supremacy of the Constitution above every other law.
Yes.
And the Constitution also went ahead to recommend that every other law that fall inconsistent with the ground norm, to the extent of that inconsistency, that law stands null and void. And we also have an electoral act that governs an election. So if the law recommends that this is what is needed for somebody to defend, and if the person defends based on this, then the person is right. So I don't think an affidavit, can overrun the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act. And also that provision of the 1999 Constitution that talks about freedom of association that allows Nigerians, to associate freely, whether into political association, trade union, whatever interest that they have. So if you think that you have an affidavit that you are holding and you want to present that affidavit, first, the juries will want to ask, between that your affidavit that you signed, that affidavit on loyalty, and the 1999 Constitution, which one should prevail? So I think the ground law will prevail, the Electoral Act will prevail. So where will be the place of that affidavit or whatever that you have signed? In all of this, I think the ADC is afraid of its own shadow. If you check the current constitution of the ADC and the manner the structure is set, I think you have seen the number of serial defectors, people who don't stick to one political party, from the flag bearer Peter Obi, who jumps from party to party, he don't stay in the political party, to Kwankwaso, who's also another serial defector. So I think the ADC is afraid of its own shadow. Unfortunately, you are trying to tame a situation and you exempt the real serial defectors. That is the position of the president and the vice presidential candidate. Will you exempt this person? People want to ask, are you actually serious with this your affidavit of loyalty? So people will question it, and even me, I'm also questioning it, because you can, exempt the serial defectors, and you are trying, to curtail the situation that you think that is not good for democracy. The ADC is just joking with that affidavit of loyalty. But for them, they are trying to tame a situation. But for us, we look at it based in pari passu with the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act. I would say whatever conflict that may arise in the future, I think the Constitution will prevail, the Electoral will prevail, and that whatever they have signed of loyalty will step aside.
Okay, well, the bone of our discussion today is we're looking at the political space and whether the APC is indeed scared of these political opposition parties. Hence, many are speculating that they had a finger in the deregistration of those political parties. That's what we're having as a major discourse. Now, I want us to come to another teething issue that seems to be roaring, especially in the country at the moment, and is the acceptance of the APC itself. Now, you agree with me that in most recent time, the APC seems to be taking a whole lot of bashing on account of the growing insecurity in the country. And most especially, you do know for the month of May, year on year, our major inflation rate rose to about 15.93%, which also it's not good for the ruling party itself as it pushes towards re-election or a re-election bid. Now, let's look at it. Do you feel, because all you've been saying, it looks as if the APC will be having a strong outing as it concerns the 2027 election. But as it stands now, many Nigerians are not happy with the way the country is being run. So don't you feel that might be the turning point for the 2027 general elections? That people who are already dissatisfied with what seems to be happening will want to have a different take as it concerns the general election come next year?
With the picture you painted, on the periphery, I think if you allow Nigerians to vote based on the peripheral sentiment, I think they will vote against the APC.
Okay.
But if you look at the nitty-gritty and why we are here, what has happened economically, politically, and the rest of it, I think the APC also have a room, to exercise whatever grievances the Nigerian people, have against them. The structure of the APC are there to correct some of these things and to pass the right information. And before I go into the matter, I think the APC will need to also do more by trying to talk to Nigerians, using not just the elitist method, but trying to talk to Nigerians, about what we are doing and reaching out to the grassroots. So if you have only the elites, speaking to Nigerian people, will say because they are chopping from the government, that's what they are speaking about. You have people at the grassroots talking. I think people will see this. So now, let's go to the nitty-gritty of the matter. Why are we here? How did we get here? I think Nigeria, sometimes we talk about, having a better society where things work, society where refineries will work, society where the inflation rate will be low, society where we have better schools, better healthcare facilities and all that. Sometimes I see Nigerians as a pretentious set of people who want a better life, but we don't actually understand how to get those better lives. I was somewhere where somebody was talking about how the APC government have failed in delivering qualitative healthcare to Nigerians. And he was talking about even primary healthcare centers. And I asked 4 questions. Are you trying to blame APC based on dilapidated healthcare centers? Is it a Henko? Is it not the president that is in charge? That is why I now know that ignorance is actually eating deep. And I try to make them to understand that even in the health sector, everything is divided between the 3 tiers of government: the federal, the state, and the local government. The federal government, their responsibility lies with the teaching hospitals and the federal medical centers. Then the general hospitals are the responsibilities of the state governors. Then the primary healthcare center are the responsibility of the local government. And he say, I say, yes, that is how it is. The same thing with our roads. Like we have the trunk A, trunk B, and trunk C. Trunk A for federal, trunk B for state, and trunk C for local government. So most times we just want to blame. We don't actually understand the working of government and who is actually responsible, for certain things that we want to enjoy. If you check currently, what exactly has the APC or did the APC inherited from the PDP that was working? Is it refinery? Is it good roads? Is it a good education system? What exactly do we inherit? Now, bringing it back to the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what was working by May 29, 2023, that suddenly the thing has stopped working? What exactly? And we talk about inflation. Delta State have vast lands. Delta State has water. Bayelsa has water and the rest of it. What actually is the policy of the state government in terms of agriculture today? If you go to Abia State, what actually is the policy of Abia State government in terms of agriculture today? Go to Bayelsa, what is the policy of Bayelsa State government in agriculture today? We want to eat food. And the same people from the south side, the Farnese and southeast, and so the southern dichotomy of the Nigeria state will be blaming security. People cannot farm again. People cannot do anything. People cannot go to the. Haven't identified that, yes, insecurity is actually hindering farming in the north. What stops the people of the south side to engage in commercial farming? Number one, to generate IGR for themselves, create job for the people, also feed themselves and feed the nation. There is what they call comparative advantage in economics, where the Delta State, for instance, we can invest heavily in Gari, and if we invest heavily in Gari, we can create jobs. We can increase our IGR by the production of Gari and cassava, other product from cassava. But what is the government of Delta State doing in that regard today? Nothing, but we want to eat food. Bayelsa State is found on sea, right? Bayelsa State is all about river, and the rest of it. Bayelsa State can invest in fishing and buys what they call fishing trawler today. And if they get that one, Bayelsa State can feed Nigeria, create job for their people, and make IGR for them, enrich the state pulse, and also, enhance the economy of the state. What is Bayelsa State doing there? Abia State, we hear doing road and doing that. If we continue to do the road and neglect the agriculture, the food that the people are eating, where is it coming from? It's not the same north we are saying people cannot farm against security are taking over. You see the hypocrisy, the lack of understanding of the issues, and the pretentious kind of life that we are living here. We want the best, but when will the best come? Issue of agriculture today, and after I talk about inflation, issue of agriculture today is not on the exclusive functions of government. It's on the concurrent. And if you look at the Land Use Act, the majority of the land today are under the control of the state government and the urban area, while in the rural area is under the control of the local government chairman. What are they doing with the huge allocation that is coming to ensure that they improve the economy of the local government of the state today? Nothing. So you are expecting the federal government cannot give you that. So there are certain things we demand of the federal government that are considered too wayward. It shows that we don't understand even the working of the Nigeria state, and the government will not do it. Government will not leave their trunk A roads and come and be building trunk B roads. Today, now, if you left your house to the office, I believe how many Nigerians are driving on the federal road, which is the trunk A road. Many of us, we are using the trunk C and the trunk B roads. So if those roads are not constructed and you are blaming the federal government, whereas it is the responsibility of the local government and the state government, it means you don't even understand. That is why you see some level of enlightenment that people are demonstrating, and by supporting Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that will tell you the man is actually building an economy. We don't have economy before. We don't have economy, and they say, oh, electricity. You can't have an electricity where you have this population increase and you have a centralized system The man came and he looked at the system. What will be the solution to all of this? And he unbundled the electricity sector through a legislation. That is a substantial kind of a solution that will be provided to our electricity problem. That is why we have Batnaji today, operating electricity company that is giving Abia State people electricity. What stopped Delta State Finance Minister from investing in electricity in the state? You can partner, but today do we have it? No, we are still thinking that everything is also centralized. Whereas it has been privatized by the PDP administration, something that is privatized. That is why I listened to one of the presidential candidates, to be precise, when he said he's going to build this. So, and I asked myself, is this man actually aware with the working of Nigeria state currently? If there is a law that has unbundled the system, and you are saying you are going to build, how are you going to build? Are you going to do it for the private companies, the private owners, or are you going to do it for the state? How are you going to come about with all of this? So I think a time has come where we should encourage people to invest in certain things that matters, also to hold our government responsible and accountable for them to deliver those goods that we want. And if we continue to wait on the federal government to do those things that are not the responsibility of the government or the federal government, I don't think we will get anywhere. We are living in the same country, but Lagos state economy is competing with other economies of the world today. Is it not the same Nigeria? Recently, we are talking about infrastructural improvement in Abia State. Is it not the same state? The man now is investing some of the money in the infrastructure of the state. What stop other people from doing that? And there is also a private electricity company now in Bayelsa State. I think if we have every state, investing in this or encouraging people to do this, we have this electricity, but unfortunately, many people are still trying to wait on the federal government to give light or electricity to people, and a situation where the system has been privatized. You still want the government to repeat the law. I don't understand how they are even expecting some of these things.
Okay,
so it actually shows
Mr. Emi Faraga, it looks
understanding
as if
in making
even
some of
like
these
you were
people.
talking of light, they at least finally brought it for you there. We can hear the humming there. Well, anyway, we thank God on that. But anyway, time is not a friend, and we really need to go. And but before we do so, just one final question: should our political space be encouraged to flourish? What I indirectly mean is, how important is it for us to have an equal playing ground for all political parties? That's number one. And number two question is, I'm not telling you to be a prophet to prophesy, but do you see the APC with having a clear cut victory come next year? Just those two important questions. A minute will do, sir.
I didn't get to see whether I see the APC do what?
It's winning it come next year. On all you've analyzed.
The thing, everything is clear. While people of the South and the Southeast are riding on emotions that are all defined, there are other parts of this country that are actually looking at what is being done, how it's being done, and the benefit to the general good. And I think based on this and the structure, election is won based on structure, based on the structure the APC is having now, and how they are trying to reach out to people to understand the policies of the government. I don't think we have somebody who will displace the APC come 2027.
Placing you, but actually letting you go. And we need to thank you so much. We're talking of no other person but political analyst Emi Faraga, joining us the way from Port Harcourt in Rivers State. We truly appreciate your time and your honest assessment and genuine and frank reasoning as it concerns our political space at the moment, and the issue of who would definitely clinch it, and why you feel some seems to be having more of a negative trend as it concerns their push to indeed, I'm talking about the political parties, to get it at the center. But all the same, we truly appreciate your time with us, and we really want to say thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Well, anyway, the pleasure is all mine, and will constantly be ours right here on Atlantic TV, because we'll give you the opportunity to also respond to all he has said. Let's get your take on it. Do you feel the APC will clinch it at the end of come next year during the general election, which is just barely 7 months away? And not only that, what is your take as it concerns some of the intrigues that seems to be playing out in different political parties? Are you comfortable with what the NDC is doing? Do you feel the ADC is projecting itself in the best of ways? And what is your take as it concerns what will finally be, especially with the deregistration or re-deregistration of the political parties that was done earlier by no other person but Justice Lufo? Let's get your take, get your reaction as it concerns what we need to do to make our political space more accommodative. All of that will be generally and fully appreciated. Like we said, all our social media handles are there on your screen. Drop them. Just do what you constantly do. And we want to use this opportunity to truly appreciate all of you with the nice words and words of encouragement as it concerns dialogue and other awesome programs that we air right here on Atlantic TV. We'll say we're always appreciative of your comments and also your reactions and what you feel we need to do more. We'll always put that close to our heart. But for me, talking about heart, we need to go on the break now. And you do know it's more like a wrap on dialogue, but the news will come pretty soon. It's still Viewpoint on Atlantic TV.